Hello there. Today I'm tasting a wine from Sancerre in the Loire Valley. So this is Chateau de Thauvenay Terroir Calcaire 2022 Sancerre. And it's a Sancerre Blanc. Chateau de Thauvenay is an 18-hectare estate in the southeast of the appellations of Sancerre. The vineyards surround a newly restored Victorian-era chateau. The estate was first planted in 1819 by the Count of Montalivet. The vineyards here are on some quite steeply sloping hillsides. The soils are a chalky clay marl over a limestone subsoil, and the vineyards slope down to the River Loire. These are quite classic northern French wine growing soils for white wines, certainly, and you'll see them appearing as the edges of the Paris Basin. It's a chalk depression, and you see them appearing in Sancerre, in Chablis, and also in Champagne. And the thing about these chalks is that they will hold water, so act as a moisture reservoir for the plant, but only give it out quite slowly, so they don't create too much vigour in the plant. So, quite good for creating concentrated quality wines. The estate was purchased in 2016 by a producer called Langlois Chateau, and Langlois Chateau traced their origins back to 1885, so quite a historic company. They actually only became Langlois Chateau in 1912 when Edouard Langlois and his wife Jeanne Chateau took over the business. And the business prospered. It's well known for producing Crémant de Loire, and also has vineyards as well as in Sancerre, in Saumur, and in Saumur-Champigny. In Sancerre, as well as their purchase of Chateau de Thauvenay, they also make and market the wines of Chateau de Fontaine-Audon. The group is highly respected, and in 1973 became part of the Bollinger family of companies, so linking them to the Champagne company. All their vineyards are certified under a scheme called Terra Vitis, which is a certification for sustainable agriculture, and much of their vineyard has now been converted to being organic. I see that this particular wine has a Terra Vitis symbol on its label. I don't see any organic certification, so presumably this is part of the vineyards that are yet to achieve certification. The wine here is of course 100% Sauvignon Blanc. The vineyards have a mixture of old vines and younger, and these may well be vinified separately of distinctive styles that can then be combined in a final blend. Yields are kept down to somewhere between 35 and 55 hectolitres per hectare, and the vineyards are carefully managed. They'll use undervine cultivation, there's a programme of leaf plucking, and they will green harvest if necessary to keep yields low. Picking takes place both by machine and by hand. This is done in the cool of the morning to avoid unnecessary oxidative damage to the fruit where possible. And I assume that it's a question that if you've got quite steep vineyards, the lower portions are probably possible to harvest by machine. The higher portions almost certainly have to be done by hand. At the winery, pressing is done very gently using pneumatic presses, and they make a selection of juices. Thus, later pressings can be discarded if necessary. It tends to be that the earliest pressings for a white wine are the clearest, they have the best sugar, the best acidity, and the most elegant flavours. Later pressings tend to have slightly softer acidity, lower sugar levels, and richer flavours. Fermentation takes place in small, temperature-controlled stainless steel vessels, and the wine then matures on its lees up until it's bottled in April, so giving it somewhere in the region of 5 to 6 months aging on lees prior to blending and bottling. So let's take a look at the wine, shall we? See what we make of it. The wine is pale, it's almost water white. I'd say it actually has some slight green hints, but only just really. Swirling it, the label tells us the alcohol is 12.5%. This is not particularly forming heavy tears on the side of the glass here. Yeah, just about make out some, but they're not hugely noticeable. So let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? The aromas have quite a sort of a green fruit nature. There's sort of cut grass there. There's gooseberry, that sort of sharpness there. Almost a sort of a sappiness. But then towards the end of the aromas, they actually sort of start to open with a slightly riper sort of passion fruit perfume. It's actually really quite attractive. So let's take a taste, shall we? The wine is completely dry. There's an instant sort of citric crispness and then quite a mineral acidity. There's also quite a nice weight to the wine. It's at least medium bodied and it's rich. It has a slightly rounded, creamy texture. You know, there are ripe gooseberry notes going in there, developing and opening to become more sort of passion fruit in their aromas. The grassiness that was evident on the nose is less apparent, and this has a sort of a greater richness. There's almost a sort of a touch of mango ripeness in there. The alcohol is probably lending a little bit of weight to the mid-palate, but it's not particularly noticeable for obscuring the fruit whatsoever. The lemony notes and their mineral acidity cut on through, and actually they carry with them these passion fruit flavours that last really quite nicely onto the finish. There may be some sort of slightly flinty touches coming in there. I would put that down to being fermentation aromas, you know, slightly flinty, toasty notes that are starting to show on the finish there. It's a wine with a little concentration. It's a wine with a nice little bit of complexity. Now, the producers suggest that you could age this for 5 years. I personally never really think about aging Sancerre because I think it's very attractive now. It's got lovely, clean, primary fruit, but I think the wine has the weight and the complexity that if you wanted to see how it developed, it would be very suitable for that. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you found the tasting of interest. If you've enjoyed it, please press the like button. Do consider sharing it with any of your friends you think might enjoy it. Do also think about signing up and joining us as a follower on YouTube. We'd really appreciate that. It would also be great to see your feedback, your comments. So do please leave those in the box below. Anything you feel you'd like to say, either about the wines, the tastings we're doing, or anything else related to that. But most importantly, I do hope you'll join us for another tasting in the very near future. Thanks again. Bye for now.